Okay, you want to start by heating up your oven. You're going to set it to 350 degrees. Get that going so it's all ready to go when we're ready to put our cupcakes in. You also want to grate about 1.5 cups of carrots. I like to process my carrots. I put them in the food processor and really process them until they're just really finely chopped. But you can grate them if you'd like. But just get 1.5 cups. This is a packed 1.5 cups of carrots. Get your carrots all prepared and set them aside. You're also going to want about 2 ounces of chopped walnuts, which is about 1/2 cup of chopped walnuts. And you want to get those walnuts pretty fine, not super fine until they're pasty. Alright, so the first thing you're going to do, and you want to make sure you have a nice big bowl for this, is we're going to mix together 1 cup of sugar. Now at high altitude, 5,000 feet or above, you want to take a couple of tablespoons of sugar out of your cup. A little less, because we need a little less sugar up at high altitude. And then we're going to add 3/4 cup of vegetable oil. And I'm using safflower oil today, but you can use any good vegetable oil. Of course, you don't want to use olive oil. That wouldn't be so good in here. So 3/4 cup of oil, and about 1 cup of sugar. And the oil won't change for this recipe, for the altitude. Sometimes it does, but not for this recipe. Alright, just stir that together. Carrot cakes often use oil instead of butter. Carrot cakes are not a butter cake. So just get that mixed together. Alright, then you're going to add eggs. Now your eggs should always be at room temperature when you're baking, alright? So hopefully maybe you've had these sitting out. If you forget to pull them out of your refrigerator and they're still icy cold from your refrigerator, just cover them with some really hot tap water and let them sit there for about 10 minutes or so to bring them up to room temperature. And you'd be surprised at what a difference it makes in your baking. So room temperature eggs. I'm just going to crack. Sometimes it's a good idea to crack your eggs into a bowl and not into your recipe, because if you get shells in your mixing bowl with all your other ingredients, sometimes it's hard to get them out. Maybe sometimes you don't see them. So if you want to crack them into a bowl first and then make sure there's nothing else in there but egg. Alright, now I just like to beat this around with my wooden spoon. You can use a wire whisk. Of course, you can do this with a hand mixer or in your stand mixer, but it's so fast, it's not even worth getting all that out if you have to get it out. This is definitely a bowl kind of cake. Alright, now we're going to add some vanilla. Now, we're going to add a good tablespoon of vanilla. Alright. We're just going to get that stirred together again. Yeah, I buy a big bottle of vanilla because I use a lot of vanilla. Over the summer I've baked hundreds and hundreds of cupcakes for catering jobs, and I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. Alright, now you're going to add those carrots. Just dump them right in. Out of your bowl, and your walnuts. Get them in there. Not cooperating. Alright, and just stir those together. See, it's really fast. Okay. Now to this, we're going to add the dry ingredients. I like to use just a sieve. This has a handle on it. You can use a sifter, one of those little sifters, but I like to just set this over the bowl. I'm going to measure my dry ingredients directly into this sieve, and then we're going to sift it right into our wet ingredients down here. You can do this separately if you don't have something that works well over a bowl. You can do it separately on a piece of paper or you know, a piece of parchment paper or into another bowl, whatever you want, if this doesn't work well for you, but this is what I like to do. We're going to start by adding some whole wheat flour. Now you can use just regular all-purpose flour for this, but I do like to use my pastry whole wheat flour for this. That's the soft pastry wheat flour. All right, we're going to use 2 cups of that. Now at high altitude, sometimes we have to add a couple more tablespoons, but because it's whole wheat, I'm going to start with just 2 cups. And that will be at all altitudes. So 2 cups of flour, whatever flour you want to use. And I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of oat flour. Now you can make your own oat flour simply by taking some rolled oats and blending them up. All right. So 2 cups of flour, a cup of oat flour, or you can use, or did I say a cup of oat flour? Not a cup of oat flour, a 1/4 cup of oat flour. Now you can use oat bran or wheat bran in place of the oat flour if you'd like. That's okay. All right, we're going to add a teaspoon of salt. Now when you're baking with salt, you should use just the fine-grained kind of salt, not the kosher kind, the big flake kind of salt, because that measures a little bit differently. So you want to use a fine table salt. And then we're going to add our spices. We can't have carrot cake without some good spices. Now, this is a blend that I make. You know how I like to make blends. This is just cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, allspice, orange peel, and cloves. And I've blended them all together. And I like to do a spice blend, because as you know, I hate to keep taking all these spices out and putting all the jars back in. So this is a good multi-purpose that I put together. If you don't want to put together a spice blend, you can use a pumpkin pie spice. That is a kind of spice blend that will be very similar to the ingredients in this. Or you can use just standalone kind of spices. You want a total of 2 teaspoons at high altitude and about 1.5 teaspoons at sea level of your spices. All right, so now we need some leavening agent in this, and we are going to use baking soda. In carrot cakes, we often use baking soda instead of baking powder. High altitude, I'm going to use about 3/4 teaspoon of baking soda, because I don't need as much leavening up here, but at sea level you're going to use a full teaspoon. Okay, so now you have all of your dry ingredients in your sieve, and you're just going to shake those into your wet ingredients. Be careful with this so you don't get it all over. Just shake that right into your bowl. So you get down to the bottom and there's those lumps. Just press those through. Baking soda often gets lumpy. No one likes to find a chunk of baking soda in their cake. It tastes really soapy and not good at all. Alright, there's some bran for my flour. I'm going to just add that to it. Okay, now we're going to mix the wet and dry ingredients together. Alright, we have a nice chunky batter. You don't have to beat this a lot. Like some cakes you have to really beat and beat, but you don't need to beat this one. Alright, let's move things out of the way. Clean up our spot. And get ready to scoop these out. Alright, I have prepared a couple of muffin pans, or more the case around here, they're cupcake pans. I'm going to use a number 24 scoop. If you don't have any of these scoops, they come in really handy. What does a 24 scoop mean? Well, it means a couple of things. It means that there's about 24 scoops in a quart, or it means there's about 1 3/4 ounces in here, or it can mean that there's 2 2/3 tablespoons in here. It's great for portioning out, especially for people in the food industry business. You know, when I do catering, it helps me know how much batter to make for the size of the order that I need. So I have about a quart of batter here, so I should be able to get 24 cupcakes out of here with my 24 scoop. We'll see how close I come. One more left, about one more I can scrape out of here. Alright, have a little more in here, so I'm going to go back, and I think I shorted some of these. Just add a little bit more. This will make it so these cupcakes are just up to the top of our cupcake liners. It's hard to frost them if they billow over. Alright, that one needs a little bit. Okay. Now our oven is heated up, so we're just going to stick these in the oven, and I'll see you back in about 15 minutes. Okay, the buzzer's gone off, so let's check those cupcakes. Yep, these are done. Oh, those sure smell good. Okay, see how all of the cupcakes are just perfectly up to the top of the cupcake wrapper, just the way that we want them. Now these are good and hot. You want to probably leave them in your muffin pan for about 10 minutes or so to cool off just a little bit. Don't burn your fingers, but you do want to get them out of your muffin tin, otherwise they'll soften up, and sometimes the wrapper will pull away from your cupcake because it will steam and kind of get soggy. So let's pull one of these out and look at that cute little cupcake.